first off, I'd like to talk to you. You've got a new album about to come out to the north. Now, that gets released, is it tomorrow your time?
Yep, it does.
Excellent. So, what are you most excited about with this new album?
I think, for me personally, I think I really enjoyed how the songs worked well with the musicians and how they kind of, got under their skin what I felt would be the right expression of every song. Because, I deliver the song to them, just the piano and the vocals. And then I just like describe the atmosphere and the vibe of the song. So it's a collaboration, and it feels really good how it turned out. So it's always good to know that you've been doing it together with other people.
So, with the recording and writing process and everything, was the band that you had something that people that you picked, or was it something that the record company picked, or how did the actual band that came and played for the recording come together?
It's basically the producer Jostein Ansnes, whom I work with on Time to Tell as well. I described to him what kind of sound, like musical expression I was looking for. So, and since he also produced Time to Tell, I wanted the To the North to be an, follow-up album. So when I gave him the producer role, I said, you need to find this perfect band. So yeah, he did a really good job, and so basically it's all down to him.
Excellent. With that, I mean, because from what I understand, you went away a few years back ago and did a whole lot of study on producing and sound equipment and all that sort of stuff. Do you does that play a part? Do you get quite involved in that nowadays still?
Um, well, both yes and no, because I on both my new albums now, I've headed for a much more acoustic sound environment. And because I was used to electronic programming, that's basically what I've been doing for my other albums as well. So I just thought, I need to have a producer, because when you're working with musicians, you need to kind of think differently, because you can't control everything like you can do when you're doing the program music. So basically, I'm involved, but in a different way, because I've kind of given more away to have another one producing it. But I think also that he adds a lot, because I do believe in the collaboration. I mean, I like to work alone, but also the songs I've made on my own. So it's good to have another person's impressions and suggestions and critics, the critical voice as well. So I think it kind of is. Yeah, well, it's good to have that in the bone, like in my bone, but in the back. But it's also good to give it away, I think.
Well, that's it. I mean, it must be kind of a relief to be able to let somebody else do it, but
Yeah.
at the same time, kind of, you would know what they're doing, and you would
Hmm.
also have, especially on the technical side and things like that. So,
Hmm.
I mean, it must be also a huge learning experience.
Yes, indeed, indeed, that's very true. Hmm.
Awesome. One of the things I noted, one of my first sources I always go to when I'm doing research is, unfortunately, Wikipedia. And
Yeah.
it claims on there that you're a professor. Could I ask you a little bit about that?
Oh, it says that I'm a professor.
Yeah.
Well, I work at the university here in Trondheim, and my subject, but I work as an organizational psychologist. But I don't work as a professor. I work with leadership development, and organizational development. So yeah, I'm at the university, but I'm not I don't have students. I work with leaders and sort of governmental side of things.
Oh, that must be interesting side from where, I mean, because it's completely different to what you do with your music.
Yeah, I know. It's. I think also it gives me a bit of perspective on life that you have. music as my kind of my energetic, motivational, shelf where I can sort of pick, motivation. But at the same time, also, it's sometimes maybe I should. Maybe at one point I have to make a decision because it's a lot of things going on in my life.
Well, that's right. I mean, it must be quite difficult to choose between, your professional career. Which is your professional career? Because I mean, you've been doing music for a long time now as well.
I know, and I'm happy to kind of have a, to do both because I also think that I like to use, my my head in different ways. So yeah, it's. I hope that I can kind of make this combination. It's yeah, it's been working for a while. I need to take more times off that job, but yeah.
Well, do you get to do much touring as a solo artist?
Yeah, we're going into it now. Both this autumn we have gigs in Europe, and also next year we will do more shows in Europe, and also hopefully come to South America and Mexico again, like Latin America. So yeah, it's challenging to do the solo stuff because I'm being away a lot from my family and everything. But it's like previously in my career, I didn't do much shows. I was like a much more shy as an artist. But now that I've kind of started doing the concerts, I just feel like it's great. I just don't want to stop because it's a very, very nice way of, seeing how these songs meet the audience. It's a very good feeling, and meeting people and coming out there, it's a great feeling. So it's definitely something that I will continue with also in 2016.
Yeah, well, it must be much more enjoyable knowing that it's your stuff you're performing rather than being in a band where, I mean, although I know you talk about that you like collaboration, but, when you're standing there and it's your own stuff, it's your own pride and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. It gives you freedom to be a solo artist, definitely. But at the same time, touring, it's also in a way easier with a band because then you don't have to hire musicians and stuff. You're all in it, kind of thing. But yeah, it's pros and cons with both.
Excellent. Now, because I'm writing for a metal magazine, I was wanting to touch on some of the metal stuff because, I mean, originally when you first started into music, you were in a doom metal band.
Yeah.
So, what got you into metal in the first place?
Well, it kind of started. I think it started with like Guns N' Roses and Metallica in my early, years as a child or as a teenager. And then I got introduced to Warlock, with Dorothy Pesch, the German band. And then I was completely lost because I've never like experienced like a female front vocalist with so much, what should I say? Like she was so convincing in how she kind of, her way of singing, her melodic songs, but at the same time she was not a pop person. She was kind of raw to me. So she really inspired me. And then so I was really into rock and metal for years. So it wasn't really like a choice. It was just who I was, I think. And also been really like drawn into, the mysticism and the darkness of, things.
Excellent. So, are you still an avid metal listener? I mean, because I know your music that you perform now has changed in some ways quite a bit, but in other ways not really, because, I mean, you were always a melodic singer anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
yeah.
yeah, sorry. So, do you still listen to much metal?
Well, both yes and no, because also back then, when I was really into the metal scene, I still listened to all kinds of music because I was studying classical music and like operatic singing, and I like listened to Grieg and Beethoven, and at the same time Warlock and you know. Um, so I've always been kind of versatile when it came to music. But of course, it's been, I don't know, I kind of been introduced a little bit more to the metals in the past 3 years with singing in the Sirens with Liv and Annika, working with Tuomas in Nightwish. I kind of had a bit more dive into the metal scene than I had before that. So it's good.
Well, that's it. I mean, the metal scene would have changed a lot since way back when you first started, because back in those days, a female vocalist was very rare.
Yeah.
Whereas now, it's horrible that it's a sexist thing, but it's now that the woman vocalist in metal is starting to get some recognition, and realizing that more than equal to any guy any day.
I know, and it's been a really positive way, because when I started out in the third mortal, people couldn't believe that we could have a female vocalist in the band, and also that we didn't have a male vocalist. Also, it was just the female vocal, and that was really like something that people have never heard of, and it was also unheard of because I felt like a lone soldier for a very long time. But now it's very different. Now it's people don't even blink because it's just very normal. And also I see that there are more women in the like light engineer and in the booking and in other like aspects of the music industry as well. But at the same time, looking at most bands, there are, if there are any females, they're singing. They're not like the drummer or the bass player, or so we still have a way to go. Well, yeah, because I don't know, more women into music, please.
What would be one of your highlights as an artist?
What are my highlights? Um, it's a good question. I think um, I think in many ways, to me, it's been a big step to kind of, like I said initially, that I was quite shy as an artist in the beginning. So I think when I've kind of stepped, out of my little safe haven, and done like concerts and getting out there and meeting audience, that has been like the most definite highlight. And for me, the social media has been like a new world as a musician, because I've had people listening to and liking my music from so many places in the world, and it was like hard to get to. I kind of wrote letters back in the days, and now all of a sudden we're all so close because we have Facebook and Instagram, and we can also communicate in a different way. So I think it was a very special moment when I arrived in Mexico the first time, and I could hear that I've been traveling to the other side of the world, that I wasn't afraid to fly anymore, and that a huge bunch of people actually knew all my lyrics and was singing like with me on my songs, and that was really, really a special moment, both touching and moving, and I was really glad that I got to experience it.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, and that's the whole point of making the music, is so that hopefully it touches somebody, and
Exactly, exactly.
and you're sharing and expressing your own, your own inner, and to have other people understand that. But I mean, that's
Hmm.
always been one of the things that I've always liked about metal, and that and its strength has been that it's always been something that's like, hey, I've been here, I've done this,
Hmm.
and I feel this, and whether it be um, anger and all that sort of things that metal is quite commonly known for. But
Mm.
it's also all the other sides as well.
Mm.
Excellent. So, what would you describe as some of your influences and or heroes in the music field that inspired you? I mean, we've previously talked about who the first metal bands you were into, but
Yeah.
who would be some of the influences in your musical heroes?
Um, yeah, well, then I would go, of course, it would be female. But I think um, I like very much like Kate Bush and Tori Amos, Björk, um, Lorena McKennitt, if you've heard of her, Canadian singer.
Yep.
Um, I just like how they kind of have, um, like, they're telling me a story when they're singing. It's lyrics that mean something. That's kind of, I have a feeling that they're writing songs because they want to listen to that music themselves, and that really appeals to me. And that's basically what I think when I write songs too. That I the song is coming from my heart. I need to write a song because it means something to me. And but then when that's done, then it's time for other minds to pick it up and other people to know and think and see if it appeals to them and if it touches them. But anyway, yeah, those women like strong, independent. They kind of follow their own path. Yeah, so I think that will be my answer.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, I've got one last question for you before words of advice for young musicians.
I think, like, looking back at when I was young, musician, like 18, um, in one way I felt like the world was at my feet, and on the other hand, I was so worried about things. And I thought that when I made a decision, then things were going to be like this forever. And what I learned the most was that things changed rapidly. And you can just make a decision and go ahead because things will change. And it's allowed to change your mind. So just, deep into it. Just go for it. And don't worry so much because most of the time worries are just useless.